Hey, you guys, I'm so excited for you to be a part of this course. I've put my heart and soul into these videos and this template to help you guys work through everything. And the fact that you're showing up for yourself is a huge thing to celebrate, first and foremost. So I want to let you guys know, I want to put a preemphasis on this. The first 2 weeks are going to be the hardest because you're going through the muck, you're uncovering some stuff that you probably haven't dealt with in many, many years, if not decades. So I want you to bear with me, sit tight, and remember to show up for yourself. Remember to set some time aside to do the journal prompts, to do the homework, to do the assignments, because it takes the work. It's not just what you hear, what you learn through what I have to tell you. It's actually implementing and putting in the work, doing the things to get you to where you want to be. And that is feeling lighter, lifting that weight off your shoulders, getting rid of emotional triggers and limited beliefs and negative self-talk and all those things that's keeping you to the version of you that you no longer are, and helping you become the version of yourself that you've craved to become. So first and foremost, as you guys know, my name is Vicki Roberts. I am a self-love coach. I am a single mom of the most amazing son, Gage. No, I'm not just biased. I'm a dog mom, a fitness addict, chronic Amazon and Target shopper. Don't tell nobody. But I pour my heart and soul into others because I know what it's like to feel ashamed and to feel sad and uncomfortable and to let my old habits get the best of me. I am a recovering people pleaser. I'm an overthinker. Anything that was helping me dim my light, make myself uncomfortable for the comfort of others. Maybe you feel the same way. Maybe that's you and that's something that you can relate with. But this is why I'm here. This is why you are here, because we decided to make a change in our life. We decided that we deserved more, that we wanted to be more, to give more. And the way that we do that is by pouring into ourselves first. We need to fill up our self-love cup in order to pour into others. Otherwise, by the middle of the day, we're completely drained because we only start the day with quarter of a cup or half a cup. And yes, it is refillable, but chances are you've been putting yourself on the back burner anytime that something comes up, because your needs and your wants don't deserve to be met as much as anyone else's, or at least that is the lies that you've been telling yourself. And this is why you're here, is because we are squashing the lies. We are no longer living a lie or living a story of what others have created for us, which is what I'm going to jump into right now. Before I do that, when you're going through these journal prompts, when you're going through these assignments, when you're listening to these videos, when you're going through the days for the next 30 days, even after that, I want you guys to remember something. Give yourself grace. You'll probably hear me say this every single week, but give yourself grace. We are human. We're not perfect. We may learn something. We may start implementing something, but there's always going to be something that happens, and we may go back to an old habit. We may resort back to a trigger, something. Give yourself grace, because there's no point of being disappointed and discouraged in yourself, because that's just you taking steps backwards. We're not trying to go backwards anymore. We're not looking backwards. We're only keeping our eyes forward and moving our feet forward. So the best thing that you can do, if you mess up, if you make a mistake, if you resort back to triggers or limited beliefs, or let life get a hold of you, give yourself grace. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. All right, let's get down to business, shall we? So we all have a story. We all have a story that was created from childhood, from relationships, parents, jobs, bosses, employees, coworkers, society, and now social media. We're all born full of life. And most likely before we can even remember, we were taught a story that wasn't even meant for us. We started letting life chip away at us like we even had a choice. And as we grew up, more influences have affected our story. Along our lifetime, we had been made to feel less than, insignificant, unworthy of success, happiness, love. We have learned to dim our light because we were afraid of being too much, too silly, too mushy, too smart, too loud, too outgoing, too shy. I can go on. We decided to make ourselves uncomfortable for the comfort of others. Truth is, they were probably doing the same thing. We all want the same things out of life, right? We all want to be seen, to be heard, to be loved, to feel like we belong, to feel appreciated. And we all are. But the story we have been holding on to is preventing us to truly feel that way. We get so busy with schools and jobs, families, etc., that we stop focusing on what makes us happy, what brings light into our life, what makes us who we are, that we won't even know who we truly are to our core anymore. We find ourselves constantly saying negative self-talk. I'm not enough. I'm not smart. I deserve to be treated this way. I'm always going to be broke, overweight, unhappy, insert whatever adjective you want to list. I'm a failure. I'll never succeed. I'll never have X, Y, and Z. I'll never accomplish whatever. Just constant negative self-talk. And the truth is, we have been made to believe those lies. We believe what we are constantly telling ourselves, and what we constantly tell ourselves is the story that others created for us. Which leads me to establish. Now, if you haven't noticed, every single week, there's going to be 2 different topics that I talk about. The first one today was story. The second one is establish. So awareness is key when it comes to letting go. If you don't bring what you have shoved down to the surface, you will always hold on to those thoughts and feelings. But we have to establish where these come from. Now, this is what I was talking about in the beginning of the story. We have, over our lives, we have swept shit under the rug because it seems like it was easier to forget about them than to deal with them. Some shit happened to us that is so unbearing and so miserable to deal with that we try to block it out of our memories. So here we are living in this beautiful house with this beautiful rug, this throw rug in our living room or kitchen or wherever you want this rug. But because of over time, you kept sweeping shit under that rug, you have this big heaping mess under that rug. Maybe only you can see it, maybe others can see it too, because you think you try your best at hiding all that shit under the rug. In reality, it's affecting your mood, your mannerisms, your demeanor, your patience, your ability to show up in life, your ability to have relationships, your ability to have healthy relationships. So what we have to do is open up that rug, lift it up, and we got to sweep all that shit out and sift through it one piece at a time. And that's what we're doing here. So in the homework that I sent you, you guys should have gotten a PDF. I told you to write down when you could first remember feeling less than. If you didn't get to it yet, it's not a problem. Just so you know, this is something that we're going to focus on. This is going to help what we're going to focus on this first week. We have to bring where and when these thoughts came from to light so we can let them go. So I'm going to share a little story with you guys. Growing up, it was me and my half brother and my 2 half sisters. They're all older than me, 12, 14, and 16 years old, 9, 12, and 14 years older than me. So I was the baby. As far as I can remember, I don't have many clear memories of being really, really little. But I do remember a time that me and my mom and my friend went to stock market. It was a grocery store. And I believe I was 7 or 8 at the time. And I've always been very outgoing, very bubbly, very wild, if you will, child. Still that way as an adult. And I remember going to the grocery store. We were shopping. I don't even remember what we were getting. But I remember my mom was checking out and me and my girlfriend were sitting by like the not the vending machines, but where you put a quarter in and you could get gumball or whatever. So there was this really big gumball machine, the one with the circle top and the red lid at the top, and I was leaning up against it. And before my mom was done checking out, the whole thing, it's not like I was messing around, but the whole thing came crashing down. It fell. I fell with it. Glass shattered everywhere. Gumballs went everywhere. It was a big mess. First off, I was mortified. I was so embarrassed. My mom came over. She grabbed my arm. She spanked me. Okay. I'm aging myself because, I mean, anyways, we're not going to get on that topic of spanking. Anyways, she spanked me and she yelled at me. She told me that I need to stop fucking around, that I need to settle down, I need to calm down, I need to do all these things because I'm too crazy and I'm too much and all this stuff. And I was so mortified, first off, because I wasn't doing anything. The thing had fallen over just because I'm leaning up against it. Kids, whatever. Come to find out, the manager comes over and he's apologizing. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. You know, we just got that machine in last night. We didn't bolt it down yet. It's not your daughter's fault. And my mom was like, no, she shouldn't have been messing around, da, 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 da. So the whole time when you're a child, or when I'm a child, I wanted my mom to be there for me, to comfort me, because, right, we're supposed to look up to our parents. But at the same time, my mom was mortified. She was embarrassed. She didn't know how to handle that situation. She wasn't understanding what was actually truly going on. So she took her anger and aggression out on me, not knowing the true story, not knowing that it wasn't bolted down yet, not knowing that I wasn't messing around. I didn't push it over. I wasn't being, you know, a reckless child. But I was so embarrassed. And I remember, like, I just shrank into myself. I was mortified. I was embarrassed in front of my friend. I was embarrassed in front of all these strangers at the grocery store. And I was sad because I felt like I disappointed my mom, even though I didn't do anything. And here she was telling me I was too much of all these things. And that stuck with me for a really, really long time. There's also another story that, for all of you guys that have struggled with your mother-daughter relationships, I will be honest. So back then, when I was 7, 8 years old, I was still a really good kid. When I was a teenager, I was probably not the best teenage daughter to my mother. I didn't live with my dad at the time. I just lived with my mom, and I was a shithead. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to grow up and, do things on my own. I didn't want to take, rules from my mom and, doing what a teenage daughter does. And I would sneak out of the house. I would throw parties when my mom wasn't there. I did the things that I hope to God my child would never do. Anyways, my mom caught me doing something I shouldn't be doing one time. And she told me, I'm not going to cry. But my mom told me, she was so angry. She was yelling at me, screaming, whatever. And she told me that she wished she would have drowned me at birth. Now, this is something years later that I actually went through therapy therapy about. I actually went to therapy for an ex that I was working through. And that moment, I swept under the rug. That moment in my life, those words that came out of her mouth, I swept under the rug and I didn't think about it for years and years and years. Then I realized subconsciously, I was reacting to that version of me that my mom said that to anytime that me and my mom had a disagreement. There would be a trigger and I would respond to that childlike ways because it was something that I never healed from. I actually haven't talked to my mom about that issue up until recently. And we were sitting down and we were having wine and we were talking about my sister. And she was like, did your sister tell you what your dad used to do? And I was like, we've had these conversations. And I said, well, did Tina talk to you? And she's like, about what? And I was like, well, I remember having a story that I talked to my sister about it because she was like my second mom, but one that actually let me get away with shit. And I told her what the conversation was, and my mom starts crying. She's like, Vicki, I vaguely remember saying that to you, and I'm so sorry. She was ashamed. She gave me all the reasons, why it happened, and I understood. But the thing is, because I thought it was one of those things that I wanted to sweep under the rug, I didn't deal with it because it was harder to deal with it at the time. So those are just two parts of my stories, of many, many year stories. And this is where your first homework assignment comes from. So we are going to write your previous story. We are going to write all the things that you remember feeling unworthy, unloved, unappreciated, all of those things. You could write it however you want. You could write it in story form. You can write it in bulletin form, however, or bullet point form. You could write it any which way you want. Write down when and where these thoughts came from so we can let them go. And I don't just want you to write out the negative thoughts and limited beliefs. I want you to write out a different version too. So this week, you're going to have 2 journal prompts. You're going to have your past story. What is my past story like? What are my triggers, my insecurities, my limited beliefs telling me? And number 2, the second part, the light of this all, you're going to write your new story. You're going to write your powerful story. You're going to take your power back. You're going to write, who do you want to be? What do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? What do you desire life to be like? This may be hard because it's new, but you got to get uncomfortable before you can light your soul on fire. If you guys need me at any point of this course, please reach out and let me know. You have 2 journal prompts this week, and it's time to get started.